episode 224, Outer Banks edition. As you can see, I'm alone this week because I'm vacationing with my family in the southern Outer Banks of North Carolina. I'm on Emerald Isle, which is the southernmost barrier island. So the Outer Banks kind of make if you start up here on the coast, they go down. Wait, I'm doing it backwards. And then they kind of go inward like that, and I'm down here. Nag's Head is like up here. So we're at the very end. And my family has been coming to this island for 30 years now. And we had to miss last year because my daughter was starting middle school, and we always go the last week of September. So it was really nice to get back here this year. So that's where I'm coming from. And at the end, maybe I'll give you a shot of what it looks like outside. It is pouring down rain today, unfortunately. So, shout outs. We're still running our shawl knit along until the end of October, until the end of September. And by the end of September, I mean until the day that Sheila and I record in October. October 1st is next Thursday. So it depends on when we record. If we record before Thursday, then there'll be an additional week. And if we record after Thursday, we'll be picking winners for that. So sorry about that. The shawl knit along. Again, any shawl that you want to do is fine for that. We don't mind double dipping. So if you're doing one of the shawls for sort of a knitter, feel free to enter. In both. And if you are donating shawls that you've knit in the that you finished in the last 2 months that we've been running this KAL, feel free to enter those as well. We're also doing a shawl charity, and that will be ending at the same time, so make sure you get your donations mailed out and post pictures of what you sent in the contest thread. Just to reiterate, we're giving away sets of the new Webs yarn that were hand-picked out by Lise, who coordinated the charity. And we're giving away a skein of wool mice. And we're giving away a bag and yarn set. So it's quite a nice set of prizes. I think 10 in all. So you have a pretty good chance of winning something if you go in on that. I want to announce another opportunity to do donations. We're not running a contest for this, but I just wanted to mention it. Our friend Emily Milliman, also known as AKA Millie, is doing a year-long internship in clinical counseling in Oregon. And she's starting up a new group that looks at self-esteem through the lens of self-compassion and art therapy. So what she wants to do in her community is to teach the men and women in the group to knit mindfully, to give them time to reflect and have peace and self-care. And she plans to use Tin Can Knit's Simple Collection, which is a great starter set of patterns. She is looking for donations. She does not have a lot of money because she's a student, and she's working in a community that is very poor. So she asks that if anyone, she does not want money, she asks that if anyone out there has yarn and tools like knitting needles, acrylic or wool, DK, worsted, or Aran, and needles that are straight or circular and are 7/8, 9, or 10 US. I'm going to put her donation address in the show notes. And I will also, excuse me, make a thread about it in the group that just explains what it is so that people who don't read the show notes can also see that. Again, she's not looking for money donations. She's just looking for donations of acrylic or wool yarn, DK worsted or Aran range, and needles that are straight or circular in US 7, 8, 9, or 10. So this is a great time for anybody out there who has needles and yarn in their stash that they know that they're not going to use, to send it along and know that it'll go for a good cause. So again, if you have that stuff, send it to Emily, and she would greatly appreciate it, and I think it would be a good thing to do. We are getting towards the season of giving, and nothing makes me happier than when I can help somebody out by giving and also get rid of things that I don't want. So, excuse me. Let's hope that some people can help her make her her group happen. So that's it for shout outs. On the dance card, I have 2 things on the dance card. The first thing that I have is I have started my I have random yarn. I have started my Halloween socks. They are out of Vesper yarn in the Bride of Socktober colorway. Sorry. I have a little bit of asthma here because I'm not used to the pollen. And here are the beginning of a toe, so I don't have a lot to show you on that. But I'm knitting Dalekanium socks, and I'm really loving the pattern, and you'll get to see how it works up because I have a project half done to show as well. So these are my Halloween socks. I have one done and this little tiny toe up cast on. It's not very big, but those are coming along nicely, so I'm excited about that. And I finally cast on my Waking Tide sweater by Courtney Spainhour. This is the sweater. It's hard to tell. I'm very worried about the edge on this curling. I might rip it back. I might cut it and rip the edging back when it's all done and knit it in a smaller needle size to draw it in a little bit. But this is what the trim looks like. This is the bottom of the sweater. It's much bigger than it looks. Believe me, I know how big it is because I had the worst time getting this sweater to work. I told you the last time, even though I hardly ever bother, I made a swatch. I used 4 different needle sizes, and I figured out which needle size would get me the gauge that I wanted. And I took that needle. Actually, I went a size down from that needle because my plan was to make this edging a needle size smaller. I read that in one of the helpful comments in the pattern. Just a side note, if you are going to knit something, it's a great idea to read all of the project pages in the pattern. There's like a tab that says projects. Click on that. Look at all the projects. I like to start out by looking at the ones that people have already marked as helpful. And the way you can see that is there's a little life preserver icon at the top of the project box. But what I like to do is I read through those, and then I read through the other ones, you know, if I have the time, and I see what problems people had and how much yarn it took. If I'm lucky, I can find somebody who did it in the same yarn, or I look for a similar yarn so that I get an idea of things that I might have to look out for when I'm going ahead and doing my project. And 2 of the tips that I picked up, one was to add an extra row of garter on the bottom to help it from curling, and the other was to knit the bottom in one size smaller. So that was my plan. My gauge was about perfect in a 9, a US 9, so I moved down to a US 8. I cast on the number of stitches for the size that I wanted based on my measurements. I measured myself, and I knit it up, and at some point, what happened? Oh, I needed to transfer to the larger needle. I needed to transfer to the 9. So as I was putting the stitches onto the 9 and taking them off of the 8, I had enough needles in there that I could actually try on the bottom. And it was about 12 inches too wide. So when I put it on, it was like out to here. It was crazy. I had noticed that it had used up way more of my skein of yarn than I had imagined it would. So I was getting a little nervous I was going to run out of yarn, and I would have, because it took almost a whole skein of yarn to knit this giant thing. So I measured my gauge, and I realized my gauge was completely, it was off by a lot. And one of my friends pointed out to me that this swatch that I did is not in the round. Rookie mistake. I have swatched in the, I don't like to swatch. I'm just going to say that right off. I have swatched in the round before. Usually what I do is I know the kind of yarn, I can ballpark it, and then I start it and I see how big it's going to be, and then I make my adjustments accordingly. I should have knit this in the round because my gauge flat is significantly tighter than my gauge in the round. You can just tell by looking at it. I think my gauge on an 8 in the round is very similar to my gauge on a 10 in this swatch. Yeah, that shows you nothing. You can see it's much bigger. So I measured it. I measured my gauge. Oh, now I've dropped this off the needles. I measured my gauge I took it off the needles completely, measured my gauge as best I could with what I had already done, and I figured out how many stitches I needed to make it the right size, and I went from one size, I dropped, so I was at one size, I dropped down 2 sizes. And I cast it on again, and according to my calculations, that should have been the right size. So I knit that one, and I got about 5 stitches. And I decided, because my gauge was so big, I wasn't going to mess with changing needles. I was just going to knit it with this needle. And like I said, if I have to, at the end, I'll cut it and I'll reknit the bottom edge. I don't know. Some people said when they blocked it, it didn't curl up. So I don't know. We'll see. But I'm pretty sure I'm going to have to cut the bottom and reknit it in a size 7. But anyway, my plan at this point was, let's just get it working. So I reknit it 2 sizes. I've gone down 2 sizes now. And I wanted to be sure that it was going to work. So after I got to the same part as before, I put it on 2 needles and tried it on, and this time it was 4 to 6 inches bigger than I wanted, so it was still too big. That was kind of disheartening. So I decided it would be safe to drop down another size. So now I am like 4 sizes down from what I originally started. So I dropped down another size, cast it on again, got about an inch above the, and that was looking great. Got about an inch above here and realized that I had, this time, hadn't the other times, but this time I had twisted the cast on. Another rookie mistake. So I ripped it out again. So now this is my 4th version of this sweater. Cast it on again, and now it seems to be going well. I've got about 5 inches knit of the body, and I'm about to, I just finished a skein, and I'm about to put it onto another set of needles so that I can try it on again and make sure that it's not now mysteriously too small. Like, you can never tell. And I need to decide whether I want to make it boxy. The pattern is written for a very square body, or if I want to take it in a little bit so that it's not so boxy. I can't really decide. I need to try it on and see how much ease I have. I should have about 2 inches of ease, but I'm not sure. So I didn't want a lot of ease, because when you're big, you don't want it too bulky, or that just, it makes it too much. So I have to check on that. That's what I'm doing today. But the 4th time apparently was the charm, because this is now coming along fine. But if I had done it correctly on day 1, I would probably be at the sleeves by now. Yeah, because this is, I just cast this on last night. So this is like one evening's work. It's going very quickly when you're doing it the right way, because the gauge is so big. I'm trying to see. I think I'm getting 3.5 or 4 stitches to the inch. I'm nervous about how much yarn I'm going to have. I have more yarn than was called for the size that I thought I was knitting, and significantly more yarn yardage-wise than is called for the size that I'm knitting now, because I'm knitting 4 sizes smaller. But I'm knitting at a much bigger gauge, so I mean, there's math I could do to figure it out, but that's just, I'm on vacation. I'm not figuring that out. So I'm a little nervous that I'm not going to have enough yarn, which means that I may end up doing 3/4 inch sleeves, 3/4 length sleeves on this. I don't know. I think what I'm going to do is knit the sleeves and join the top, and if I run out of yarn, I'll pull back the sleeves to 3/4 and use what's left to finish it. I should be fine. Based on how much this knit up, I should be fine. I should have plenty of yarn, but I always get, now I'm totally off the reservation, so there's no telling what could happen. And my real problem with this, it's not the pattern. The math in the pattern is correct. If I was getting the gauge that the designer got, I would have been right on the money. I could not get anywhere near the gauge that she got on the needles that she used with this yarn. So, and that's a me problem. It's not a yarn problem, it's a me problem. I just knit way too loose. I'm getting a gauge in the round on a size 8 that I got flat with a 10, so that's just, my gauge is crazy. But this is knitting up beautifully. You cannot tell that this was ripped out. This whole thing was ripped out 4 times, or 3 times, sorry. This is, I'm using Diabolical Superwash Merino worsted in the Polar Vortex colorway, and it's nice. It's like Madeline Tosh. The base, I like the base actually better than Madeline Tosh. I think this is my new go-to sweater yarn, especially in light of the fact that you can completely rip it out as many times as I did and still have this amazing stitch definition. It's just incredible. I've never had to rip out Madeline Tosh that many times, so I'm not saying that you wouldn't have that with that either, but it just does tell you what a good base this is on, and I love the colors. I think it's really pretty. So, yeah, there it is. I almost knit something else, but I could not find anything that I liked as well as the Waking Tide pullover, and I hope that the yoke, which has historically had problems for some people, I hope that doesn't end up being a nightmare. I was starting to think maybe I was not meant to knit this sweater. you hate to have that feeling. So, but it is now, oops, except for the fact that I keep dropping stitches off of it. It is now on track, and it should not take me very long to knit most of this sweater because it's just plain stockinette. So there is that. And that's all that I have on the dance card, primarily because that's all I brought with me on my vacation. And it's really more than enough. So, let's see what comes after that. Rate your date. I have one date to rate. It's a project half done. I finished one of my Halloween socks. This is Dalekanium. I cannot remember the name of the designer, but I think it's something like Dina Stelly. Excuse me. I think it came out great. It would look nicer if I could display it on my sock blocker, but you will see that next week when I record, because I'll put it on one then. I love how it came out. The pattern kind of stayed with the colors here, but then it kind of switched up when I got it up past the heel. I did not follow the pattern really at all, except for the stitch. Well, I don't know about the toe. I just used I know I cast on more stitches in the toe than were in the pattern, and I did my standard toe because I always do. It's a toe that I like, and I can do it from memory, so that is the toe that I always used. The pattern comes with a small gusset and a short row heel. I don't knit gussets, and I don't do the kind of short row heel that was in that, so I cast on 64 stitches, which is my go-to sock width. I cast on the 64 stitches, and because of the gusset, there were fewer, the stitch count was kind of off in the top. So what I did is I worked the pattern as well as I could on the 32 stitches I had on the top of the sock. And then after I did the heel, in order to make the pattern work out evenly, I increased on one of the sides of the heels, like right here, by 1 stitch. And then at the end, when I was ready to do the ribbing, I decreased by 1 stitch so that I could do 1 by 1 ribbing and it wouldn't come out weird. And then I cast off with my Jenny's Surprisingly Stretchy Bind Off, which I like for a toe-up sock because it has really elastic give and you don't have to worry about it binding your leg in. And it's just, I think it's just a really pretty sock pattern. I'm sure that if you knit the sock, it would be great too, but I am a stick in the mud. If you've watched the show before, I have a sock recipe that I like that fits my foot well, and I will just adapt patterns to it. So there it is, Brightest October with the Dalekanium pattern. Very Halloweeny. My favorite part is this black and why can't I talk? Black and green right there. I kind of like how the 3 colors in between the black and the green are the heel. It worked out kind of cool. So we'll see. I'm starting with black again on the other toe, so it'll be similar but not the same because I am not somebody who needs the 2 socks to look the same. I just need them to be symmetrical. That was the other thing. This pattern, on one side there are 2 stitches and the other side there's only 1. So I will be knitting the second sock switched to the opposite way. You probably cannot tell that from looking at it because it does not, 1 or 2 stitches does not make that much of a difference. But I just feel like I have to do it so that I know it's symmetrical because that's my weird thing. So there it is, my PhD. Needs to be blocked. So, oh, it's a bit warm in this room. that's it for that. Whirlwind Romance, obviously I'm on vacation. I haven't done anything, so nothing. Future dates. My future date's going to be to finish my sweater and that sock. Haven't really thought beyond those projects. I will be knitting a sock at Rhinebeck with the other friends who are sharing a house with me. We had custom dyed self-striping yarn done for Rhinebeck, and we're all going to knit socks out of it. I don't know what pattern I'm going to use yet. I guess I'll kind of look at the yarn when I haven't seen it in person yet. I'm going to get it at Rhinebeck. I'll take a look at it then and see what it inspires me to use. So that'll be good. Let's see. Baubles and Bling. Well, one Bauble and Bling that I got was the latest pattern by Kimberly Gintar. Kimberly, who's been a friend and viewer of the podcast for a long time, designed a new shawl called Sunshine and Ripples. I'm going to try to show you, if I can, what it looks like. It's really pretty. I saw a picture of it on Instagram. It looks like a fun, pretty knit. And I thought at the time that that is something I would like to knit. So she sent one for me this week, and I'm excited to try it out. She has one, I got to show this one, sample that was knit up in a gradient, and it is absolutely gorgeous. It makes me want to find a really pretty gradient yarn like that when I go to Rhinebeck so I can knit this. So I might do that. So that's one Bauble and Bling. The other Bauble and Bling is I went to Hobby Lobby. I know some people have a problem with Hobby Lobby, and I get that. But I have to say, it is an amazing store that has, it's like a Home Goods and a Michaels and a Joann Fabric all in one store. And unfortunately, I don't live in a place where we have Hobby Lobby, but I've been to the one in Maryland, I've been to the one in Maine, and there is one down here about 25 minutes away. So I went in, and they had these faux leather covered tape measures. They were $2.99 each, which is a little bit more than I usually pay, but I thought they were pretty cool, and I can always use more tape measures for my notions pouches, so I went for it. I got blue, pink, and yellow, and just for those of you who may not have seen my notions pouches, I get these from Stitched by Jessalou, and I keep a tape measure, these little inexpensive cheesy scissors, and this is a glitter tube from the craft store that I put a few stitch markers and a yarn needle in. And I try to have one of these for every bag that I own. And this one, I try to match them to the bag. My house is all in disruption because of the construction, so I didn't really match one. I just took this out of the last project I did. But I like to keep, and this is a new bag, so it didn't already have one in it. But typically I keep the notion pouch inside a bag. So almost every bag that I own at this point has a notion pouch inside it that's set up. That way, when I put a new project in a bag, I know that I have scissors, tape measure, stitch markers, and a needle in it. And it's been great. I don't ever worry about it. I don't have to hunt around for my notions pouch. There's one in every bag. And I try to source the things really inexpensively. This, like I said, $3 tape measure. It's not a bad price to pay for these. You can pay a lot more. I was really excited, and I showed them on the podcast a few weeks ago. I was really excited to get a bunch of them for $1 a piece. That's a really good price for good tape measures. And the warning, you can find really cheap ones on Amazon, but they might not have legit inch markings because they're made in China. And I think the people that make them, they're very aware of what a centimeter is like, because that's the standard measurement there. But since they don't use inches, I think the people who manufacture these just like made it up, because they are nowhere near an inch. And if you rely on those to measure your work, you will get crazy stuff. So don't do that. So that's my Baubles and Bling. I do want to say that I went to the Salty Sheep Yarn Shop in Swansboro, which is very near here. We go there every year. The owner's a great lady, and they have a beautiful selection of yarns and notions and bags, and the people there are really helpful. It's a great yarn store, and I bought things there, but I'm not going to show them to you because none of them were for me, because I don't really need anything, and I'm going to Rhinebeck in a few weeks. So those are all for other people. So I can't really show you what I got, but I did get some nice stuff. And anything else that I bought, which is very little, I bought a Christmas ornament for myself. I buy one every year here. And I got another sticker for my car because my old one fell apart. Well, it's not really a sticker, it's a magnet, a car magnet. So I didn't bother to show those because they're not really knitting related. I have not spent a lot here. And that'll be a part of the crushes and heartbreaks. So my crush is that the whole family's down here again. Like I said, I've been coming here for 30 years with my family. My kids have been coming here since they were born. My husband's been coming here since we got engaged. I mean, this is something that we do every year. We've been in this house that my parents take. They take it for a month in September. We've been in this house, I think, for 9 or 10 years. So when we come here, it's really familiar, and we know where everything is. And it's just great. And the first few days that we were here, the weather was amazing. It was actually unseasonably cool, which was nice because the sun was hot and everything, but there was a nice breeze. And the ocean was unusually calm. And I think that has a lot to do with the way the beach is right now. In past years, you would walk out about 6 or 7 feet and then there would be a drop off. But right now, the coast is very smooth, so I think it makes the waves less crashy or something. They're much better. So we got a lot of playtime the first couple of days that we were here in the ocean. And my mom and I got to go down to Swansboro, and we all went to Beaufort, which is the other really nice little town that we go to, and we had lunch there. So that's all crushes. We're having a great time. The heartbreak is that I guess it was on Wednesday afternoon, I started to feel weird. I don't know if this has ever happened to anybody, but when I turned my eyes like to the sides, I would have like this wave of vertigo. It's kind of like how I feel if I forget to take my anxiety medication for a few days, which has happened once or twice. It's a weird feeling. So I wasn't feeling so great. That started in the afternoon. I ate a little bit of dinner. By dinner time, it was so bad that I felt like nauseated from it. I was too dizzy. So it was like 6:30, and I said I gotta go lie down on the bed and close my eyes because I can't keep my eyes open anymore. I'm too dizzy. And once I got upstairs, I got so cold. I couldn't get warm. And my husband actually found an extra blanket for me because I was shivering so hard I was shaking the bed. And I was sick like that. I had a fever. I was sick like that for a few hours. My husband finally found some ibuprofen, and about an hour after I took the ibuprofen, the fever broke. And I felt much better. But I had a headache, and the headache got worse the entire next day. I thought it was maybe a sinus infection. Took some sinus medication. That didn't touch it. And then the thought occurred to me, maybe I was just having a migraine, and I took the migraine medication, and like an hour later, I'm fine. And I feel fine today. So I don't know what was up with that. My daughter had a bit of a cold when she came here, and maybe I've been having asthma. You can probably hear it in my voice because I'm not used to the pollen that they have down here. And prior to getting sick, I was using a steroid inhaler as well as my rescue inhaler. And I don't know if that got me sick. I don't even know what happened. But for 2 days, basically Wednesday and Thursday, I was just wiped. And today I feel fine. No more headache, no more fever. But it's pouring rain outside. So that's kind of sad. But we're still having a lot of fun. My husband and I went out to lunch together yesterday, and we did a little poking around downtown. The nice thing about having come here for 30 years is that we know where everything is, so we just can run around. The other heartbreak is our favorite restaurant, Pizza Inn, that has a pizza buffet. If you live in a place with Pizza Inn, you're so lucky. That's our favorite pizza restaurant. We used to always go to the one in Morehead City, and it closed. So we didn't get to go there that year, but there is a takeout Pizza Inn. We got that instead. It's not the same. So those are my crushes and heartbreaks, and gossip and innuendo. Don't forget to join in the contests. I'm not sure when I'm going to record with Sheila next week. Like I said, if we record before Thursday, the thread will close and we will draw all the prizes. So you should try to get your stuff in by then. But it may be held open until we record the following week if we record before the end of the month. So who knows? Keep an eye on the thread. And I know there was a lot of stuff going on last week. Coming up is the Topsfield Fair with the spinning competition. I'm not sure if I'm going to be able to go this year, which is kind of disappointing. Still up in the air. But if I do, and if I win anything, I will show you my ribbons when I get back from it. And Rhinebeck's coming up. I know that next week, this upcoming week, the week that has the beginning of October in it, I will be around. The week after that, I'm going to be gone for most of the week. I will record. I'm not sure if I will be able to record with Sheila because I'm not sure where she's going to be. And then the week after that, I'm going to Rhinebeck on Thursday. So it's coming up on a very busy time. I'm excited because I get to spend time with a lot of my friends and see new people that I haven't seen before. And, look at yarn, which is always fun. But it's also going to be really hectic. So hopefully I'll get everything I need to get done by then. So I hope everyone's having a great week. Have a good time knitting. Knit with heart. And I guess we're out from the Outer Banks. Bye.